I'm Nedra Knirk, and I want to welcome Yvonne Ramon, Hidalgo County Election Administrator, to our Futuro RGV discussion on how the COVID-19 is affecting our Hidalgo County communities' November elections and your voting in person or by mail. But first, I want to thank our Futuro sponsors who help bring these discussions to you. Thank you, sponsors. Now, this discussion and those of other Valley leaders will be on the Futuro RGV Facebook page, YouTube, and social media for further viewing from here on. And now, Futuro RGV moderator, Davis Rankin, will review with Yvonne Ramon our options for voting in the November elections.
Thank you very much, Nedra.
I will turn it over to you, Davis and Yvonne, to help us understand how can we vote safely, and if we vote by mail, how can we be sure our vote will be counted? So Davis, you're on.
All right, thank you very much, Nedra. And this comes very timely because we all know there's been much talk recently about voting by mail. Is it safe? Some say it's not safe, that it's going to be just a playground of fraud. But we'll see what Yvonne Ramon has to say about that. She's been elections administrator in Hidalgo County for 12 years. So she has some time under her belt. Although I bet you $1, Ramon, Yvonne, this is a different time. So this is not like the other times, I guess. But I will turn it over to you. Tell us, first off, who can vote by mail? There's day of voting, which means you go during that day. There's absentee voting, and I'm not sure what else there is other than mail-in voting. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today and to make sure that our community understands how can I vote? Am I able to vote by mail? And the different questions that can come up. So we are here to make sure that our community is clear and understanding. So who can vote by mail? You know, if you are 18 years of age and you are a citizen of Hidalgo County, you can vote personal appearance. You can go to any of the polling locations, either on early voter election day, and your ballot will be there. But there are those special community of voters that can also vote by mail. The one most common reason is you are 65 years of age or older. You can request an application and you can vote by mail. Or you're disabled and you, the voter, determines your disability. There are no questions on the application that requires that you submit a doctor's notice or anything else except that you, the voter, are disabled. The third thing is if you are not 65 and you are not disabled, but you are not going to be in the county both during early voting and election day, then you find yourself outside the county, you can also request an application to vote by mail. Or if you are confined in jail, but you're eligible to vote, you've not been finally convicted of any felony, you can also request an application. Now, the other reason is very important because it has to do with our military or those citizens that find themselves outside the country during this period of voting. You can either vote on a regular application or ballot by mail, or better yet, pick what is called an FPCA, which is a federal postcard application. And that will allow you to be able to vote by mail as well, because you don't find yourself in the county, and that age requirement, again, would not hurt you in any way. So those are the reasons why and if you are able to vote by mail.
65 plus, disability, you claim a disability and the county does not drill down on that to find out the nature of your disability. Your word is sufficient in this case. If you're not going to be in the county during early voting and on election day, again, I'm assuming that's your word, that the county takes your word for that. If you're in jail but not finally adjudicated as a felon, then you're able to vote. And then if you're, and I guess if you're listening to this, you are either abroad or your relatives know somebody's abroad, so you can apply. We'll come back to that, I suppose. So
Let me
these are,
clear,
go
let me
ahead.
clear one thing, Davis, on the expected absence from the county.
Yeah.
If you are not 65 or older and you check mark that you will be out of the county, guess what? The delivery of the ballot has to be to an address outside the county.
Okay.
So you cannot ask for a ballot and mail it to your home, in other words. So that's the catch on, I'm going to be out of the county, you need to tell us where, and we will mail that ballot to where you tell us you will.
All right. So I'll be out of town visiting my aunt in Dallas. I'm gonna be there for a long time. Here's her address.
Exactly.
Not mail it to me and I'll take it with me and then vote up there. Okay. Well,
Exactly.
that solves that little problem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are there many people who are in jail and who vote?
We don't have a large community of that particular voter, but if you are and you didn't know this, guess what? You can ask for an application to vote by mail because you are
More-
confined.
More than likely, it's a relative family member who's hearing this and knows that someone's confined somewhere else. And if in doubt, always call the Hidalgo County Elections Department. We'll give you the information here in just a second. Or if you're listening to this and don't live in Hidalgo County, then call your local elections department. The election is going to be November what?
November 3rd.
November 3rd. So when does there's no way to get around this welter of dates and that sort of thing, right? That's intrinsic in this discussion. So November the 3rd, that's the day of voting. When does early vote in person start, and when can people request a ballot, that kind of thing?
Okay, well, this year, as you mentioned earlier, and Nedra mentioned earlier, we definitely have our challenges because our governor issued a proclamation that changed two items in our law. First one was to extend the period of early voting. It was supposed to start Monday, October 19th, but our governor added 6 additional days, and now early vote will commence on Tuesday, October 13th. It ends on the same day, Friday, October 30th. So now we have 18 days of early vote.
Okay.
Election day is still, of course, Tuesday, November 3rd. So you have more time. It's a wonderful period where we're trying to, as Nedra mentioned, be safer, not to crowd all poll locations. You have more opportunity to head out there to vote. So we're hoping everyone takes advantage of this extension of time.
And when they show up day of, are you all making or going to attempt to make voters stay 6 feet apart?
We are definitely working and making the best of a situation.
Yeah.
We do have those small rural communities that do not have that building that's a gymnasium size. And we don't want to reduce the number of machines because this is going to be a very, very long ballot, and we want to maximize the number of machines and maximize the space that we have. So we tried this out during the runoff. And what we did is we had a person at the door, and as the people would walk up, they would make sure that the people voting on the machines were 6 feet apart by getting them on the first machine or getting them on the third machine, and trying our very, very best not to make sure that they were next to each other. But if they happen to be, we have all PPEs in line. We've got, the gloves, we've got the masks, we've got the face shields. We finally received those shields also to put at the check-in table so that our poll workers and our voters are safe.
And I suppose this is BYOS, bring your own hand sanitizer, or?
We have it there as well. We have definitely been stocking up on our sanitizers. And if you find yourself, you forgot your mask, just ask the person at the door and we will provide one.
Yvonne Ramon is the elections administrator for Hidalgo County. She's completing her 12th year. And I think when you took over, we were using the old Shoop machines, which I still think was the best way to vote. But they couldn't fix them anymore, they said, because they quit manufacturing the Shoop machine. The website, Hidalgo County website, says you can request a mail-in ballot on or after 60 days before the election. Is that on the 60th day or even sometime after that?
And that's why I wanted to start off with who can vote by mail. Because if you are 65 years of age or older, If you are disabled or you vote on that federal postcard application that I talked about, our military or those that are overseas, you can actually send it in as early as January 1st of every year. Because what happens is you only fill out one application per year, and every single election for that year, you will be mailed a ballot. So those do not have the 60-day requirement. If you find yourself expected absence and you're not 65 or disabled, or you're confined in jail, then the law says that you should submit your application 60 days before election day, which in this case would be September 4th. Due to the challenges that we find with our postal service and just in regular mail, it's more delayed than ever. Then what I can tell you is that send your application. We will not start to process that application until the 60th day, which is Friday, September 4th. So, yes, we will not process you. So don't send it in prior to that and then ask 2 days later, did you receive my application? We will not process that.
I want to speak to Yvonne. Did you get my application? Go away. Call later. Are you anticipating a larger than normal number of people applying for absentee voting or to vote by mail?
We are. And the challenges of today with COVID are certainly some of those greater challenges. You know that we have close to 70,000 registered voters that are 65 years and older, yet the annual application is not even at 7,000. So we have a great number of 65 and older that have never registered to vote by mail, and they are able to. So if you find yourself wanting to vote by mail, let's do it this year and keep everyone safe.
Are you going to have to hire more staff, more people to process things?
We are. The challenges are there as far as space as well. You can imagine the space needed to be able to process applications and then turn right around and send ballots and then receive ballots. It's a challenge in and of itself. Certainly, I have a great staff that works very, very hard to make sure this gets done correctly.
And this will be the extra staff is a temporary thing, right?
Exactly. I will see as we start seeing the numbers. I will go to court and ask for extra staff, temporary staff.
Where do I get an application for a mail-in ballot? And then when I fill it out and send it in, the application for one, how do I know that you got it?
Yeah, it's very important that to know that we got the application. And of course, where do I get it? Well, you can go on our website, and under voter information, you will see that you're able to get either an application to register by mail, a regular ABBM that we call it, application for ballot by mail, or an FPCA if you are in the military, or a citizen that finds themselves outside the country. And once you download that application, you fill it out and you mail it in. You are not able to, Texas does not have online voter registration or ballot by mail registration. So it's important that you download it, you fill it out, and you mail that in. Now, you are also able to come by the office. You can call us and we can mail one to you as well. If you don't find yourself with a computer, just call our office at 318-2570 and ask for an application to be mailed to you.
There are, what was I going to say? Well, let me back up a little bit. So we can apply for a ballot whenever, but you're not going to process the paperwork to send me a ballot if I do that until 60 days out?
Unless you're 65 and older, unless you're disabled, or you are filling it out on an FPCA, which all three would be, and you check off annual. It's very important that you use that little check mark. We do have people that, are 65 and don't check off annual, then you'll only get that one ballot for that election. So if you check off annual, we can receive those as early as January 1st.
Are there any drop-off boxes? There used to be the blue mailboxes on street corners, now that I think about it. These became a point of contention nationally. Do we still have those now that
No,
no?
no. I talked about the governor and the proclamation that
Yeah.
extended early voting. And it's very important that right now I mentioned that aside from extending early voting for this election only, let's be clear, this is only for this election.
Mm-hmm.
The governor also extended and changed one of the other laws. So you find yourself with your mail ballot, it's election day, and oh my goodness, I didn't mail it in. What do I do now? If I put it in the mail, it may not get there timely. So the law now says that on election day, you yourself, only you, can walk in that ballot application to the main office only on election day. Well, the governor extended that to still only at the main office at 213 South Gloucester, but guess what? You can drop it off anytime. It doesn't have to be only on election day. It can be as soon as you get it, you fill it out and you can walk it into the main office only. Another thing that's important is that you're gonna have to show voter ID. You cannot just drop it in a box because we're not gonna have them available. You actually have to show us voter ID, show us that you are the voter, and then you will be able to turn that ballot into the main office. We will have curbside voting because again, who is voting by mail? Could be someone who is not able to get down and walk into the office. So we're going to have it set up so that you can call the office or you can buzz a buzzard and we will walk out to your vehicle and you can show us your voter ID, you can sign the appropriate document, and you can go ahead and turn in that mail ballot to an employee of the elections office.
If I get a mail-in ballot, my understanding is as long as it's postmarked before the election, it counts.
Well, that's only the next business day after election. And it has to be postmarked, by the way. The law also changed where all ballot by mail had to be received on election day by 7 p.m. So now they extended it to the next business day.
Okay.
If it's postmarked.
Which would be Wednesday in this case.
Exactly, but it has to be postmarked Tuesday, November 3rd in order to be accepted. If it's not postmarked and it's received on the Wednesday, it will not be accepted.
And if it were received, postmarked, but received the day after, the day after, too bad, so sad.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's only that Wednesday. Now, for your federal postcard applications, guess what? They get either a 5-day or a 6-day. Ends up being the same thing because if you are a citizen outside the United States and you vote with a federal postcard, you get an additional 5 days. Because that falls on a Sunday, then it's the next business day, which is on the Monday. And that will be Monday, the 9th of November. Or if you are in the military and you are voting on an FPCA, you also get 6 days, which again is that same Monday, November the 9th. So voting on an FPCA gives you additional time, and it can be received then by that Monday, November 9th, and it will be, once it's verified and identified and everything is looked at by ballot board, it will then be processed.
And I can hear somebody saying, well, that's just the same as not voting because it's not going to get counted in time, but it could reverse an early count. If everything was done right, it could reverse an early count, but that's not likely to happen. I wouldn't think.
It could. And that's a very important point, Davis, because Tuesday night, when everything is accounted for, you will see that it says unofficial. Mm-hmm. From that point on, we still have to verify all provisional ballots because guess what? If someone does not show an ID or someone is not on the database, we have 6 days in which to either find them or 6 days in which that voter can bring an ID. So those votes, if the voter does bring in their ID, then it gets processed after that Monday the 9th. Those military and overseas citizen on FPCA, same thing. So that night is unofficial, not until after that 6 days that the ballot board comes back and the authorities canvass the results, then they become official. So a local election, and by the way, we have maybe about 27 additional local city, school, and water district elections that may be on the ballot as well. they can win by 1 or 2 votes. And so they need to wait until that official canvass is final in order to truly know if there is a winner or not a winner.
So the acceptance by in this case, it would be the commissioner's court, I'm guessing, the acceptance of the results during a meeting, a duly called meeting, is mostly ceremony, but it does have a legal impact. It is a
Definitely.
legal thing. So
Yes.
if they verify it and then they accept it and verify, or whatever, however they do that, and then you decide, Mr. and Ms. Candidate, that there was shenanigans, that's much harder to overturn that election. Well, I'm getting off topic, but the official and usually boring acceptance of the results, because I'm going, what difference does it make, right? I mean, we know what the winner is, but it's not the winner until it's officially accepted.
Exactly. And at that point, it's called canvassing. And it's a very important, even though it's ceremonial, it's very important because for the local elections, your cities and your schools, depending on their charters, depending on their laws, the candidates that win are able to take over right after canvassing, while the federal, state, and county don't take over until the next January 1st. So, it's an important part of finalizing an election. And you talk about those that perhaps feel that they need to question an election. The law says that you can only file a contest, it's called, until after canvassing. So this is a very, very important step of finalizing an election where there can be a recount and there can be a contest, because that's what the law allows a candidate to be able to do.
Well, we could do this all again, but what can you quickly kind of summarize the important parts, the high points, and then people will have to go to the website or call your office and work out any details that we don't cover here.
I think I'd like to touch base on 2 items that Nedra was talking about before we got started. And one of them is, how can I know that my ballot counted? And so let's start off with, how can I know if my ballot was received? Well, the application you have to call in. There's no other way. Give us time, like I said, because of the postal service and the time that it takes. You can call in and ask, did you receive my application? But your ballot, you can check online to see if we received your ballot. You give us 24 hours, you check online, and all ballots received, your name is there and when it was received. So that's an easy way to check. You know your ballot got here. Now, to know if your ballot was accepted or rejected, please know that it's not the elections office that accepts or rejects a ballot. It is actually a group called Ballot Board. That ballot board is made up of the 2 major parties. They have, we try to always have parity. Sometimes it's not possible, but they look at every single ballot that came in. And if everything is right, if everything is easily read, it just goes right through. If not, then there's, a decision to be made, but that's what Ballot Board is. And you will receive notice if your ballot was rejected. If you don't receive notice after the election day, if you don't receive notice after the last 6 to 7 days after, then your ballot was accepted. So remember, you will receive notice if your ballot was rejected. So that's how you know if your ballot was accepted or not. Another question that was asked was, do I have to return my ballot with return receipt requested? No, you don't. You can put it in the mail, or as I said, you can also now take advantage of being able to walk in your ballot yourself, knowing that you have to show voter ID, and we will take all precautions to make sure that you are safe, that there is social distancing, that we all are wearing our PPEs, so that our voters, my department, election employees, and all of us are safe during this difficult time.
Okay. Well, I guess that's, I want to go further, but it's not a wise thing. We'll have to reprise this or something else. And I know Yvonne will be on TV and radio and in the newspaper, and she's also available at 318, I beg your pardon, 318-2570. Yvonne Ramon is a longtime elections administrator for Hidalgo County. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in to Futuro RGV. You can look at this again on our Facebook page and on other social media. I'm Davis Rankin.